3:41 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz. USS Nitze, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer. 16 nautical miles in the narrowest navigable corridor on Earth. 2 Noor anti-ship missiles just launched from the northern Iranian coastline and locked onto her. Flight time to impact, 78 seconds. The crew had been awake for 19 hours. Welcome to Navy Beacon, where we break down the operations that define sea power. The Strait of Hormuz at 3:41 a.m. is not a place that forgives errors. At its narrowest navigable point, the Deepwater Channel is 21 nautical miles wide. The Iranian coastline dominates the northern edge entirely. The Omani coast holds the south. Every ship transiting the strait, tanker, warship, or cargo vessel, passes within comfortable missile range of Iranian territory for a minimum of 40 nautical miles. USS Nitze had been transiting westbound at 18 knots, inbound to the Persian Gulf to relieve USS Carney on theater patrol. Standard transit, pre-coordinated with Fifth Fleet. The route was the same corridor that U.S. Navy ships had used hundreds of times in the previous 2 years. That predictability was the problem. The IRGC Coastal Defense Battery, positioned on elevated terrain above the fishing village of Kuhastak, had been observing U.S. Navy strait transits for 11 months. Kuhastak sits on the northern coast, 32 kilometers from the deepest part of the navigable channel. The battery, armed with Noor anti-ship cruise missiles, had a coverage arc that encompassed the entire central transit corridor. The battery's crew had logged 47 U.S. Navy transits in the preceding 11 months. They knew the timing patterns. They knew the standard speeds. They knew that ships transiting at night, without active air cover directly overhead, reached a specific geographic choke point at predictable windows. USS Nitze reached that choke point at 3:40:53 a.m. The battery's fire control radar activated at 3:40:58 a.m., 5 seconds before the first missile launched. USS Nitze's AN/SLQ 32 electronic warfare system detected the fire control radar at 3:41:03 a.m. 5 seconds after radar activation, 3 seconds after missile launch. The 2 Noor missiles were already in the air when the alarm sounded. The Noor missile flies at between 5 and 7 meters above the surface. Sea skimming, radar signature minimal. Designed specifically to arrive at its target with the minimum possible engagement window for defending ships. At that altitude, in the Strait of Hormuz's complex sea-clutter radar environment, the AN/SPY-1D's surface search mode struggled to maintain continuous track in the final approach phase. The tactical action officer aboard USS Nitze, Lieutenant Commander Rafael Ortiz, processed the SLQ-32 alert and called General Quarters in a single motion. The alarm sounded at 3:41:04 a.m., 1 second after detection. 211 sailors went to battle stations. Time to impact, 67 seconds. Batteries free, Ortiz called. Engage all inbound contacts. The AN/SPY-1D had both missiles on track at 16 nautical miles. The fire control solution was clean on the first contact. The second contact was partially masked by sea clutter, trackable but intermittent. 2 standard missile, 2 Block 3B rounds, launched from the Mark 41 VLS in rapid succession at 3:41:19 a.m. The missiles left their cells and climbed on vectors toward the 2 inbound contacts, each flying at Mach 3.5, each carrying a blast fragmentation warhead. 50 seconds remained until impact. The first SM-2 intercepted the lead Noor at 11 nautical miles. Clean detonation. Proximity fuse. The warhead fragmented through the Noor's airframe at closing speed, and the missile broke apart, its undetonated warhead tumbling into the Gulf. 1 down. The second SM-2 had a problem. The intermittent track on the second Noor, the one partially masked by sea clutter, had fed a slightly degraded fire control solution into the SM-2's guidance computer at launch. The missile was flying an intercept vector calculated on a track position that was accurate to within 40 meters. 40 meters is a large margin when you are trying to intercept a missile moving at Mach 0.9. The SM-2 detonated. The proximity fuse triggered at the right moment. But the Noor was 42 meters from the detonation center, just outside the optimal fragmentation kill radius. The Noor took fragmentation hits across its left wing and forward fuselage. Its radar seeker was damaged. Its guidance system switched to memory mode, flying the last computed bearing toward USS Nitze's position rather than actively homing. A Noor on memory mode with a damaged seeker, flying its last computed heading, is not the same missile it was 30 seconds ago, but it still has a 165-kilogram warhead, and it is still flying toward the ship. 29 seconds to impact. The Phalanx close-in weapon system on USS Nitze's bow mount had been tracking the second contact throughout the SM-2 engagement. The autonomous system had already calculated its engagement solution. At 2,400 meters, the Phalanx opened fire. 4,500 rounds per minute. 20mm tungsten penetrator rounds. A stream of metal that fills the air in a cone extending ahead of the mount. The first burst, 1.4 seconds, fired 105 rounds. The Noor flew through the burst, not untouched. Several rounds impacted the airframe. The missile yawed, changed its heading slightly as structural damage altered its aerodynamic stability. The yaw moved the impact point. The Noor struck the water 71 meters off USS Nitze's port bow. The warhead detonated. A 165-kilogram semi-armor-piercing warhead detonating 71 meters from a destroyer's hull does not simply splash water. The blast overpressure wave, traveling faster than sound through the water and air, hit USS Nitze within milliseconds. The shock transmitted through the hull. Circuit breakers tripped. Loose equipment flew. 6 sailors were thrown off their feet. The blast fragmentation arc swept the port side above the waterline. The bridge windows, reinforced but not armored, shattered inward. Flying glass cut 3 sailors on the bridge. The commanding officer, Commander Patricia Walsh, took a fragment cut across her left forearm. She did not leave the bridge. The forward Phalanx mount sustained impact damage from fragmentation. A hydraulic line severed, a motor housing cracked. The mount went offline. USS Nitze was alive, damaged, fighting. Missiles fired, 2 inbound, 1 defeated, 1 proximity detonation, ship damage, seeking medical, operational. Admiral Thomas Crane, 5th Fleet Commander, was in the command center within 4 minutes. The picture was unambiguous. A U.S. Navy destroyer had been attacked in the Strait of Hormuz by a shore-based anti-ship missile battery. The battery's firing position was in the threat database. Grid Echo 6 Alpha, Kuhastak Coastal Installation, pre-surveyed coordinates from 12 months of satellite imagery and signals intelligence collection. The standing contingency package for that battery had been maintained and updated monthly. Authorization request went to the National Security Council at 3:48 a.m. Authorization returned at 4:01 a.m. 13 minutes. In those 13 minutes, the battery crew at Kuhastak had already launched, fired, and begun dispersal. The mobile fire control radar truck had departed the firing position within 90 seconds of the launch. The missile reload vehicles were on a coastal road heading northeast, but the launch infrastructure, the hardened concrete firing pad, the command and control building, the underground missile storage bunker, the backup generator facility, none of that could move. 2 FA-18E Super Hornets from USS Abraham Lincoln, call signs Falcon 11 and Falcon 12, had been on Alert 5 since 2 a.m., part of the standard alert package maintained during all strait transits by U.S. Navy vessels. They were airborne before the authorization came through, holding at altitude south of Hormuz, waiting. When the authorization landed at 4:01 a.m., they were already 12 minutes into their loiter. Flight time to Kuhastak, 7 minutes. The strike package was precise. Falcon 11 carried 2 AGM-88E AARGM anti-radiation missiles, the advanced variant that maintains terminal guidance even when the target radar goes silent, and 2 GBU-31 2,000-pound JDAM bombs. Falcon 12 carried 4 GBU-38 500-pound JDAM bombs and 2 AGM-65 Maverick air-to-ground missiles for any mobile targets of opportunity. The AARGM from Falcon 11 launched at 4:08 a.m. It did not need the radar to be active. Its onboard memory had the last known position and frequency of the battery's fire control radar. It flew the profile autonomously, activating its own millimeter wave seeker in the terminal phase to identify the radar vehicle. The radar vehicle was gone, but the concrete antenna mount base was still there, and the AARGM seeker classified it as a valid target. Detonation on the mount, destroying it and the underground cable connections to the command building. The first JDAM from Falcon 11 struck the command and control building at 4:09:14 a.m. direct hit. The building was a reinforced concrete structure, single story, built to withstand near-miss bomb blasts. A 2,000-pound JDAM hitting the roof directly is not a near miss. The second JDAM went to the underground missile storage bunker access point, the armored hatch and the ventilation structure that were the bunker's vulnerable external elements. The bomb impacted the access hatch, driving it inward. The overpressure inside the bunker detonated stored Noor missile propellant. The secondary explosion was significant enough to crack the bunker's concrete ceiling and vent fire through every external access point. Falcon 12's JDAMs and Mavericks addressed the firing pad itself, the launcher rail hardpoints, and two support vehicles that had not yet departed. Both vehicles were mission kills. Total time over target, 5 minutes and 50 seconds. At 4:15 a.m., Falcon 11 and Falcon 12 egressed the target area at low altitude, heading south toward the Gulf of Oman. The Kuhestak battery was gone. USS Nitze was making 8 knots west toward the Gulf, her forward phalanx offline, her bridge windows covered with emergency sheeting, her medical team treating 11 sailors for injuries from broken glass and blast effects. None of the injuries were life-threatening. Commander Walsh remained on the bridge throughout. The ship entered the Gulf and turned south toward Bahrain at 5:30 a.m. She was met by a Qatari patrol vessel and a U.S. Navy salvage tug that accompanied her for the transit. USS Nitze entered Bahrain naval support activity at 10:22 a.m. The forward phalanx mount was repaired over 4 days. Bridge glass replacement took another 3. The hull survey, conducted by a Naval Surface Warfare Center team, found no structural damage below the waterline from the blast. USS Nitze returned to operational status 11 days after the engagement. The after-action review ran for 3 weeks and produced findings that were uncomfortable in their specificity. Finding 1. The Kuhestak battery had been in the threat database for 11 months. Its coverage arc over the Central Strait Transit Corridor had been assessed and documented. The recommendation to vary transit timing and routing to reduce predictability had been issued twice in the preceding year. It had not been implemented consistently. The timing of USS Nitze's transit, 3:40 a.m., in the center of the established corridor, was within 3 minutes of the predicted optimal intercept window. The battery crew had been logging for 11 months. The transit schedule had been predictable. Systematically, operationally predictable. Finding 2. The SM-2's degraded intercept on the second Noor was traced to the sea-clutter masking problem, the same fundamental issue that had appeared in other Gulf engagements. The fire control solution fed to the missile was accurate enough for ideal conditions. In the Strait of Hormuz at night, with its particular sea state and radar reflection environment, it was not accurate enough. The required software calibration update for the AN/SPY 1D's clutter suppression algorithm in strait-specific environmental conditions was identified, developed, and issued to the fleet within 6 weeks. Finding 3. The phalanx mount's inability to destroy the Noor before detonation, despite achieving hits, reflected the fundamental limitation of a terminal defense system against a large warhead cruise missile at close range. The finding did not recommend removing phalanx. It recommended that any future strait transit by a single destroyer without air cover should include a second vessel specifically for mutual defense. The second ship's phalanx, covering the sectors, the first ship cannot simultaneously engage during a split-bearing attack. Finding 4, and most strategically significant, the 13-minute authorization window had again allowed mobile elements of the attacking battery to disperse. The fixed infrastructure had been destroyed. The mobile radar truck and the reload vehicles were somewhere on a coastal road network in southern Iran. Destroyed fixed infrastructure could be rebuilt. The mobile elements would redeploy to a different pre-surveyed position. The Kuhestak battery as a fixed installation was gone. The operational capability it represented, mobile fire control radar, Noor missiles, trained crew, was not gone. It was somewhere in Iran, waiting. Iran's official statement, released through IRNA at 11 a.m. the following day, described the incident as a defensive response to a provocative American military incursion in Iranian territorial security waters. The Strait of Hormuz in Iranian doctrine includes a security zone that extends beyond internationally recognized territorial water limits. The U.S. position, stated in a Fifth Fleet press release and amplified by the State Department, was that USS Nitze had been transiting internationally recognized waters, that the attack was unprovoked and illegal under international law, and that the United States had responded proportionally by destroying the attacking installation. 2 sentences against Iran's 4 paragraphs. The United Nations did not convene an emergency session. 3 allied nations issued statements expressing concern about regional escalation. Two of them privately requested the full after-action brief before saying anything publicly. The Strait of Hormuz remained open. Shipping traffic paused for 6 hours as commercial operators assessed the situation. By 1400 local time, tanker traffic was moving again. 47 commercial transits had been scheduled through the strait that day. All 47 completed because the United States Navy kept the strait open, not because Iran had decided to allow it. That distinction, the difference between passage permitted and passage enforced, is the operational reality of the Persian Gulf. USS Nitze had paid a price in broken glass, injured sailors, and a damaged Phalanx mount to demonstrate it. The battery at Kuwastak was rubble, but the missiles that had been on the road in reload vehicles, mobile, untracked, somewhere in the dark, those were still part of the equation. And somewhere in the IRGC's planning hierarchy, a new pre-surveyed position was being calculated. A position that accounted for what the Americans had just learned. A position with better clutter masking, a different timing window. 3 meters lower if necessary. 71 meters had been too close to succeed. Next time, they would try to close that margin. Stay vigilant, stay informed. This is Navy Beacon, and we'll see you in the next one.